Well, here we are, sitting waiting at Sharkey's coffee farm. Waiting for it to... Well, Tom Sharkey!
Yeah, you're retired?
I am.
I'm retired and joined the club.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, I didn't bring you a hat because I didn't know I was going to see you. But I see you're making your own these days.
Oh, I got the hats, yeah. Oh, good. Well, I figured I had to know somebody out of this group.
You do. And you know, too, actually, Ellen's here with me behind me.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Are you still up there on the hill?
Still are. And you know, I got more coffee than I know what to do with up there.
Yeah, you know. Well, then most of us are locals, right? Yeah. Okay, so a lot of these flowers you've seen, when I get people from, like I said, New Mexico and a couple other places, they go, wow. But you know, you all know the drill. I mean, everything grows here all year round, especially the weeds.
Yeah.
And the lawn.
Yeah.
Except when the gas leaks out of the truck.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, I got more cannons of flowers. But, you know, if you want to know what the flowers are, ask Bill. He knows all the flowers. This is the point dentistry up here, the red one through the leaves.
I love those.
And that's the euphorbia. It's in the same family as this one here. Crown of thorns. That's euphorbia. He knows what this is. It's a type of, it's in the
Euphorbia millolii. One of its relatives with thorns is what they call crown of thorns. They drove it into Christ's head.
Talk to me. Okay. All right. Coffee. All right. You want to pick one? Here, everybody pick a red one. Oh, yeah, look at that.
They're good to eat, too, if you don't mind getting buzzed.
No, the little, yeah, pick your own bean. Ready?
Don't let her go. Eat one? Did you want to eat one? No, I've had them before. Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay. So, these are Arabica, which is a general species of Coffea arabica. And then there's Robusta, and there's others. But these are the kind of trees that grow in Kona.
It's good.
And these are your typica. They grow taller. They, you know, they put out less coffee than I have another tree around the corner. That's the Catura, which is what we grow now, which is what the little pinkies are along the fence over there.
They work much better here.
Well, they put out more coffee.
And that's the bean, right?
Okay, got your beans? Here we go. Squeeze it. But don't let it pop away from you. Squeeze it into your hand. Okay, does anybody have a bean that looks a bit chewed on? I do. See that? See the black stuff?
Yeah.
Bean borer.
No.
Okay. You see the black?
Is that good? Is that bad?
Bad. That's the bean borer.
Yeah, you got a really bad one.
That's the insect.
Oh,
Yeah, you can see the percentage of
That's a bug?
Yep.
Yeah, yours aren't. Yeah, how you? Yeah, see how bad that is? She's got one that's completely.
Is that little dot there?
No, that's not it. But you can see that if you look at the ends, see the little hole.
Oh yeah.
So they're just starting in there. This is the second generation coming back. This was the first generation this year. Okay, so. Oh yeah, so look. You got them too.
Oh yeah.
It's not funny.
Here it is.
They look a little like powder post beetles.
Yeah. Oh, they're very similar, and they're also
Related.
similar to the dieback beetles. See?
Damn.
But you can see what they do to the cherries. I mean, the larvae,
really
the larvae make mush out of it, and then they metamorphose. They go into, you know, they do the thing.
How big do they get?
That's it. You saw the little black thing right there.
They don't get bigger than that?
That's it.
Oh wow.
Okay. Small?
Yeah.
Yep. You can't tell them from the coffee grounds in the morning. No problem.
Yeah, there's one coming out right. All right. The tree here. Okay, you see the difference? See the difference in the trees here?
Wavy leaf margin, more compact, a lot more beans closer together, huh?
Yep.
And the bugs like them too.
Oh, they don't care. Yeah, they like all of them. Yeah, and they, you know. So, you know, look at all the little dried up ones. Do you think there's any berry borer in these?
Yeah.
Oh, gee, give me a break. Look at that. They turned into raisins. See, there's. Oh yeah, you want a job? Picking coffee? Okay, you guys wanted to know what pea berry is?
Yes.
There's a pea berry.
There you go, where you get one seed in each cherry.
About 8% of the coffee harvest, depending, is usually pea berry. So when they sell you that in Kona, they want more money because there's only one per cherry, as opposed to two.
Oh, there are two?
Well, there's two usually in a coffee. So first we will discuss the cacao. Now, if you look, you'll see these little flowers here. See how small they are?
Yeah.
They come right off the bark of the tree.
Yes.
Cauliflower. It's called cauliflower. Is the name of the flowering situation, whatever they call episode. Okay, so here's the little one. So from the flower to a ripe pod. This will, well, there's a ripe. These yellow ones are ripe. That's about 5.5, 6 months. Okay. Yeah. So what we did was, so these will turn kind of a reddish orange. The green ones turn a yellow. Now look at the difference in sizes, shapes, and colors.
Oh, yeah.
But they're all very closely related.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so, and then a lot of them don't get pollinated. See, these are called chanterelles. So these were flowers that never got any pollen.
What do these look like when they're fully ripe?
This will be more of an orangish red, which is like the one on the table.
So is that like
Now-
this here down here?
Huh? That's yellow. That green one,
That's a different one.
that green one turned yellow. We're gonna pick that one, and, well, we're gonna take it up there. Okay, how do you know if they're ripe? If you scratch it with your fingernail?
And?
Green, it's not ripe.
Oh.
You will, and then when it turns, when it turns yellow, like this one here,
Yeah, you got rubber.
And that is the orchid.
here,
Hey, Garrett,
Interesting.
see how it's yellow?
I found us a mushroom.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how we were looking? See the mealybugs? The fire ants love the mealybugs. They're straight. Okay,
White mushrooms. See that?
so, I don't mean how technical you want to get. Okay, so, you see, for you plant lovers, this is called the bud whorl right here. So we don't cut them flush because the flowers come out of there. So in other words, when we cut them away from this particular joint right there. So in other words, I use clippers, or you can actually, but I cut it like there.
Oh, I see.
Then you'll get more flowers coming out of each of these points. So if you look, you can see where the, see these little bud whorls here, see the flowers that start coming out of where the, yeah. So we try not to, but when they're up there and we're cutting them with like bamboo poles, but look at the pods that are in the trees. And it takes 2 years for them to flower. So in other words, if I cut this back, any growth past this takes 2 years before it'll put on a flower. Which isn't too bad. I mean, considering the age, and if I plant a plant, in 3 years I can get pods like this. See what that does? See if I talk to the pod rot? Fungus. This is what it does to the orchard. And 10 years ago, this whole orchard was full of these. There were none of these. So basically what it does, it starts on the outside and it spreads towards the inside and eventually just rots the whole thing. So my new job is I have to come out here and take these out. I have to take these out, put them in bags, and take them to the dump. And when they get up really high, I have to get out here with a pole. And okay, there's a nice pod that I forgot. See that one there? That orange one?
Yeah.
So that, see how that purple little pod becomes, that's the color of that one there. I forgot. Oh, I tell you. It's very pretty. So would you hold that for me? Let me make sure there's no fire ants. Okay, so this pod rot is, okay, so we're going to leave that down here. Okay, so the midges reproduce in the leaf litter. In other words, we may come through and mow once in a while, but we don't rake it out because they did experiments, and this is where the midges reproduce in all these leaves, plus good compost and stuff. Okay, this orchard here is 20 years old. This orchard, the trees are too close together. We don't do this anymore. We go now 10s and 12s. They're too close together, way too close. So I should probably cut out every other tree, which I may just use this as a field orchard. But right now I'm trying to milk this baby for as many pods as I can get this year because it cost me $3,000 to get it pruned with the chipper and the help. Plus they had to bring it up from the bottom of the hill. So I could get into this. These are called Yorkettes right here. See how it looks like a hand? Okay, very few trees do this. This is a Yorkette. You can see the little tree up there, which I'm going to cut out to the Yorkette. I should have never replanted that tree. That was stupid. This is a 2-year-old tree right here. I replanted that tree. So that'll start producing here in this next year. You'll start seeing flowers and stuff. That's the cacao beetle. That's the beetle that eats the holes in the leaves. It's a Chinese beetle.
That is
Related to the June bug.
Chinese rose beetle.
Chinese rose beetle. Yeah.
So are they as big as June bugs?
About the same, a little smaller, not quite
little
as
smaller.
big, not quite
A
as
little
big.
scarab though, like that.
Is it destructive to your growth?
It doesn't hurt them when they're big, but when they're little, I have to cover them with the hoops with cloth so that they will get up to a certain point while they can grow roots and stuff. Okay. Any questions so far?
Yes.
That's vanilla. I'm going there next. Okay.
The tree down there that has like 3 trunks, is that a different variety from these?
No, what I did there is I cut that tree down because it didn't have any vanilla on it. I left the ones up that had vanilla on it. So, because I didn't want, the other ones, if you go down to the next square, all down the hill, I cut them all back to the stump, or about this high. And there's so many roots in the ground that they just threw up chupons. These are called chupons, these little things right here. So that stump threw up 3 of those. And look at, so I'm milking them. I'm gonna let them grow this year, and then I gotta cut out 2 of them. Because they get too crowded in here. So more wood, more pods.
Okay, because I have, mine look like that pretty much. They don't look like they have a single trunk. So.
Well, because they suckered. They suckered down below. And so what you could do is you could either leave them and grow pods. I mean, it's not about the looks.
Yeah.
If you don't mind that, what they do is they grow away from each other, like trees do.
Yeah.
And then if you want, you can just keep them, pruned down, because otherwise you're going to be picking them with a stick. But that's okay if you don't mind, because basically they're going to throw a lot of pods. Each one of those trunks is going to put out a bunch of flowers and a bunch of pods.
Nice.
So that's, I'm managing that in a couple other orchards. I put them on these trees because they're natural canopies and they had a little bit of shade. You'll notice that they want to grow for the light. You see this here? And if you let them grow for the light, you won't be able to pollinate them. Because if you can't reach them, you can't pollinate them. You can see some trees where they've broken off. They got away from me and I went to pull them down. And they'll just run through the trees, they'll throw out flowers, but there's nobody to pollinate them. So the idea is you want to keep it down.
Do you just loop these? Just keep
I just keep looping them and looping them. And where you have the vanilla beans here, so what I do is I come out and I cut the ends off in about January, February.
Okay.
Like when I'm picking them. And what happens is it puts the carbohydrates kind of go back up into the tree a little bit. And, okay, so you got to do this every morning for 3 hours. You only got, you got a couple hours to do the pollinating. And they're only viable for 1 morning. And where this node is right here, this will never flower again. So we're going to do an experiment this year and see if they'll make cuttings. So after I take all the pods off, I'm going to cut these and stick them in orchid bark and see if I can get them to root, and then we can give them away. What I do now with the new trees is I just stick the bark up in the tree. I mean, I take a cutting and I'm sticking them in the trees. I used to plant them in the ground. The slugs would be all over them. What's happening is you see the little, you see this here? The little tendril, how it's stuck to the tree?
Yeah.
Okay, they know they're epiphytes. So they're like pineapples, they're like Spanish moss, they're like orchids in general. They will live without going into the ground.
Right.
But if that tendril knows that it's basically a root. It's looking for nutrition and water.
Sure.
So down in the ground, I fertilize down at the base of the trees so they get nutrition, plus they get water in the ground.
And is it true they only flower on the downside?
Before I do the processing. Here's the thing about wine agriculture. If you don't add value, you're not going to make a living. You can't just grow product and make a living. You've got to add value. So in order to add value, you've got to come up with equipment and processing and techniques, and you've got to be able to turn it into a product. And the closer you can get to the consumer on a retail basis, the more money you can make. Especially, yeah, okay. So those pods that my assistant has, right? Okay, here it is. Okay, here's the same pod here. It doesn't matter, we're gonna, okay. So, here. Here, take that.
What was it like little?
This is the cacao bean.
Just chew it?
Yeah, if you want. They're kind of bitter, sweet. Good for you. They say they're good for Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah.
And the rest I can't remember.
So you eat it?
You can eat it or just suck the fruit off of it.
That's good.
And a little bitter, but that's the nature of chocolate. I mean, 100% chocolate is bitter without sugar. Okay. The juice is really good. Okay,
Here's good at crackers.
here's what we do.
It's almost like a
You ready?
candy.
See that tank over there? So, we had here 1,500 pods here yesterday. Had a crew, good people, we cracked them. We throw them in the little bucket. We throw the beans in that silver tank, an old lettuce tank from California. And it goes into that 5-gallon plastic bottle there, and we keep it in ice, keep it cold, and we make the juice. I collect the juice on the runoff, because normally, a lot of places, they just let it drain onto the ground. And it's becoming a real cool thing, so people are starting to freeze it, market it. In Brazil, you can buy it like at stores, because they got millions of pods. But here, I got some from yesterday, so we're gonna try some. You can share some. Who are you gonna share with?
My sister.
You're such a nice guy.
Sure.
Here, why don't you share with your little sister?
Yeah, share with your little sister.
We got it up here. There you go. Share that. It's pretty. Now I'm telling you, it's pretty sweet. Here, you guys. You don't have
You want to try some juice?
to. I don't think you can drink a lot of it. That's the whole thing. People mix it with alcohol. They mix it with soda water.
I was gonna say, how's it ferment, Tom?
Oh, it'll ferment if you leave it out like apple juice. It'll ferment just like Calvados.
So we
you know?
get the cacao jack, huh?
I don't. I don't drink. I won't be drinking. Ooh, weed or what? Huh? It's really pretty good. It's too sweet for me. No, thank you. Too sweet for me, but everybody wants more. I got more. They go in here and they ferment. Right? Okay. You can see all the skins and everything out back. So this is where the beans go in and they ferment for a day and a half. Basically, the yeast in the water, excuse me, eats the sugar off, that coating. A lot of people are making coffee now and they're not fermenting them. They're just throwing them out and they're getting more of an earthy flavor. If you don't throw them, if you throw them out there, they're like Cracker Jacks. They look brown and sticky because they oxidize and the sugar turns brown. Like when you eat an apple or a pear, it's kind of brown. Yeah. Well, the air hits that, when the oxygen hits that sugar, turns things brown. But you knew that. Okay. So they go from here. Then they go out they go out here. Where's my screen? Well, here. Oh, they're over there. Okay. Here, in that little basket. I know, here. Here.
Good.
That's the cacao bean. Here. Here we go. Here, let me hold that. Yeah, no, I didn't quite. Okay. So these are coffee beans that are dry. And if we get the sunshine, then they'll dry. Okay, so you ever take one out of here. But the light's gonna go off. I gotta show it. Yeah, I got electrical short somewhere.
There's a little thing inside.
Yeah.
So this is what.
This is what they roast.
Oh, this thing inside.
Yeah, what do you got there?
Well, I bit it.
Oh,
that's the same thing.
Oh
you
yeah,
did.
so you did the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same
Here,
thing.
do this. Here, just squeeze it. Just rub it with your fingers like that. See?
Oh, I bit it.
So in other words,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and people want to know, when is it dry?
Don't bite
Well, I have a
it.
meter out there
Why
that tells me
not?
when it's dry.
It's not
But also,
poison.
the old farmers, if you put it in your teeth, it shouldn't leave a mark. It shouldn't be a gummy bear. It should be like, not crack your teeth, but,
So that's how you know it's dry. Then.
well, dry enough to go through here, because if it's not dry, then as it gets knocked up against the plates, it's still wet, that it just goes.
It'll get gummy.
So his dad, who was a professor at the university, bought some cacao trees from me. So then Colin graduated from Hilo High, and he came over and worked for me. So basically, I took him around the fields, and he learned about it. We were fermenting. We built these boxes. He went to ag school, and he got his 4-year tropical agriculture degree. Then he went and just graduated with his master's degree in cacao fermentation and drying. So I got the benefit of all of that stuff. So I used to teach him, now he teaches me. So he built these boxes for his research. He went in on that green machine down there, which is a dryer, coffee dryer, in case the sun never comes out. If the sun doesn't come out, nothing dries.
Yeah.
And the cacao beans will basically turn green. If you look here,
They're vanilla sticks.
yeah, see these, they're starting to turn green a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so I take those
More like a
beans,
seasoning.
put them in here. Okay, all right, you scientist. Okay. Fermentation, anybody know the formula?
No.
Do you know what the organism is that causes it, makes it happen?
Yeast.
Did you say yeast? Yeah, okay. Okay, there's yeast everywhere. There's yeast on your hands, there's yeast everywhere, there's yeast on the back of this thing. So some people add yeast, and the more yeast you add, the faster it will go. Okay, I don't add yeast.
Red puffs up.
I don't add any yeast. Basically, so if you put your nose in here, you see the bubbles? So here, hey, sugar in the presence of oxygen and yeast creates CO2, bubbles, and a little bit of heat because it's basically an anaerobic process. Do you know what ATP is? Got it. Okay. And then at night I'll turn the fan on. And the sun comes out the next day. So if I can get a couple days of good sunshine, I can keep that wet, soggy
Smells like
aspect on. If not, they'll turn green.
smells there. And then they're
Well, they don't ruin the flavor, but nobody wants to buy green beans.
sure.
They're looking for this product, and if you look, you can start to see they're starting a little green here. And the green is just chlorella, you know, you got a bird bath. You know, the little green algae, single cell, they live in. Here's what I do. In other places in the world, what they do is they blanch them. They take them, hot water, stick them in hot water for 135 degrees, like you ever can green beans? Yeah. Basically what you're doing, where's my scientist? Where you going? Okay. Basically, cell walls on plants, heavy cellulose, lignin, really not, kind of chewy, tough. What they do is you blanch them, it softens up that part of the bean and basically kills the vegetative cycle. Then they sweat them in boxes. What I do is I throw them in this thing here and I put them in the greenhouse in the sun. Right? And they start to cook. And you come over in the sunshine. If we come back here in an hour and that sun is shining and you go to pick up that bag, it will be hot, not warm, hot, because of the greenhouse and then the double greenhouse. You want to know why you don't leave kids in cars
It cooks them.
and dogs? Because, you know, the window, yeah, I mean, but you're getting a double. You're getting a double here. You're getting the things coming in, not being able to go out, and then cooks the bag. I put a temperature in that bag, I get 140 degrees. So basically that bag is as hot as what I get if people are blanching them. So they basically, 7,000 of these kids, I'm going to need some help. So what I do is I come out and I pour the water out, zip it back up, and they keep soaking the water out. Eventually I pour the water. When they start to get thinner, I lay them out. They cure a little bit. I put them back in and make sure. Then I put them in jars in the kitchen, and I'll show you. And you got to watch them so they don't mold. And I'll show you. They're beautiful. And this is simple. I mean, it works real. I taught 5 or 6 people how to do this. You know, they have 100 beans. They have 200 beans. And the trick now is don't put the different sizes in the same bag. You want to keep them separate because they're cured faster. The little ones will go faster. The nibs. Stick your nose in here. Take a few out of here if you want to take a bite. These are the nibs that came out of that dust. So, here, go ahead. Take a few. Put them in your fingers. You know, cleanliness is next to godliness. We're real close.
So you use
Yeah. So these are the nibs, and these are roasted. And, you know, the kids don't steal them. See, like, okay, so what it does is it grinds them up and makes it, and you see the shiny part in there? Can you see that? That's this is in this right here. Okay, if you want to smell it, they grow a lot of this in Africa. In order to make this, you got to take this product here, and you got to make liquid out of it, like this, without adding sugar, and then you squeeze it. And what you get is cocoa powder, like Nesquik, you know, Nestle's Quick. Yeah, sugar and powdered milk. This, and you get this liquid comes out, looks like oleo. That's this. Cocoa butter. They use this in cosmetics. They use this in all kinds of stuff. And basically, what it is it's just like oleo. And so you can see there's a lot in this chocolate because when you put friction to it, it basically breaks down the mass, and the butter just mixes it together. This is some of the oiliest, butteriest beans I've ever had. So then you take these like this. Okay. And okay, my buddy Jim made these machines for me. The things here are from India, are pieces of shit. There's one in there that almost burnt my kitchen down if you open that door. The motors are really just poorly made. They make better ones now, you can buy on the web. You can make chocolate at home, folks. All you need is a few pieces of equipment. See, we put it in like that, and it goes around and around. Okay, so these are,
Oh, wow.
so yeah, and yeah. So then I can make it go faster. It's real thick. So this is the finished product.
Yeah.
So
Hold on, I get a picture of this.
oh, you can
You can smell it from here, yeah.
I mean, so people ask me how am I doing? I say, how am I doing? We're doing pretty good. And the thing with vanilla beans is the trick. Would you hold that? Don't drop my favorite jar. Wait. Here's the thing with vanilla beans. Would you? Okay, here's the trick to vanilla. When you go like this, it should spring back.
That's it, only one scoop.
It should spring back to where it came from.
Springy.
So what does that tell you?
This is good.
It's ready.
Yeah.
Good.
Otherwise it would snap.
Yeah.
It would
Oh, and I'll
happen.
tell you, you leave
Freeze
these out in heat, even with the humidity, these will dry out. It's amazing. So I put them in jars, and you got to watch them because if you don't dry them out completely, they'll get a mold,
Yeah.
and the white mold will just in dark, and you'll lose. Then you got to soak them in vanilla. Then you got to make extract. So, well, these are to show, and then 7,000. What are you doing for Christmas break?
I wanted to go to movies for grown-up, and unfortunately they signed up for the keyboard. Whoops.
Hey, Tom,
About 10
thank
years
you
ago,
very much. Lovely tour.
Lovely.
Somebody went to the dump.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey,
Went to
it's a nice thing to see you again. It's been a long time, man.